Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We turn now to one of the truly amazing little poems in the Johnson edition. Poem 413, I Never Felt at Home Below. I say it's amazing. This is one of those poems which often is just kind of passed over. Emily's wit is amazing in this poem. We're back to the radical Emily of, she says in this poem, I don't like paradise. We're back to poem 370. Do you guys remember when she played this game with us? It was so much fun to read that we want to read it again. Heaven is so far of the mind that were the mind dissolved, the sight of it by architect could not again be proved. 'Tis vast is our capacity, as fair is our idea. To him of adequate desire, no further 'tis than here. Emily's struggle with her theology and with the idea of heaven will all be back here. Now, this poem was published in the Review of Literature 9 March of 1929. And I'm certain that when it was published, there were a whole lot of folks that were pretty stunned at what game she was playing. Can I say game? It is a game, I think, that she's playing with. Our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at LearnStrong.net. Down the left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hoping you've worked through our set of introductory comments. I'm hopeful that you've worked through the preceding 412 poems. We just finished 412. I read my sentence. And if you have, you will place this poem alongside several other of her poems where Emily is playing some very dangerous, can we say, ironic games. A scholar has pointed out that at times Emily is notably flippant. She'll say, for example, Eden will be so lonesome in a poem like this. She says it this way, I never felt at home below, and in the handsome skies I shall not feel at home. I know. I don't like paradise, because it's Sunday all the time, and recess never comes, and Eden will be so lonesome, bright Wednesday afternoons. If God could make a visit, or ever took a nap, so not to see us, but they say, himself a telescope perennial beholds us, myself would run away from him, and Holy Ghost, and all, but there's the judgment day. Notice the poem ends with an exclamation point. What is it that she says? There's certain things I'm just not very comfortable with. I've never felt at home. Notice she says below, or the handsome skies as it relates to heaven, right? She says, I shall not feel at home, and then she'll say it. I know. I don't like paradise. Now, paradise is one of Emily's favorite words. It comes up in 56 poems. What an amazing line. I don't like paradise. Maybe for Emily, the idea of paradise is an idea of constantly being watched is something that she just cannot approve of. Because, and here's why she doesn't like Sunday, it's Sunday all the time. Now, I can't even imagine how radical a set of lines like this would be if Emily had shared a poem like this with her pals. You can think of her views of religion and religious practice with maybe her brother Austin's. And she says, recess never comes. In other words, it's like, man, it'd be like being at church all the time. It drives me nuts. And Eden will be so lonesome bright Wednesday afternoons. Eden, of course, getting used as well by Emily in some 17 different poems. The idea here being, I don't know if I could handle this kind of constant church service activity. And then she turns from religion to God. If God could make a visit or ever took a nap. Now, I think there's a whole lot of Genesis standing behind this set of lines. Genesis 2 through 3, you'll remember that God rests. He does take a nap. He rests on the seventh day, right, because of the creation and all of that. So not to see us, and this, of course, seeing us, will immediately take us to the Genesis 3:8 story and the Eden story. And, of course, after the eating of the forbidden fruit, which Milton tells us was an apple, right, they hide from God, which is obviously ironic. She says, if God could make a visit or ever took a nap, so not to see us, notice it's not me, but they say, notice it's they, himself a telescope. By the way, they say, I love that we named our series Chats with Emily with a line like this. They say, himself a telescope perennial taking us back to poem 84, beholds us, in other words, constant, the eye in the sky, always watching us. Myself, she says, if I could ever get away, I would run away from it. Again, back to the Genesis 3:8 passage. And the Holy Ghost, you'll remember this from poem 184 and 274. And all, and again, it's just, I would try to escape it all. But, and that's the key word, there's the judgment day, notice in quotation marks with an exclamation point to follow. When we get to poem 17:18, we'll play this game. Drowning is not so pitiful as the attempt to rise. 3 times 'tis said a sinking man comes up to face the skies and then declines forever to that abhorred abode where hope and he part company. For he is grasped of God, the Maker's cordial visage, however good to see, is shunned, we must admit it, like an adversity. What are we doing here in this poem at 2a? Well, I think she's arguing that sometimes simple answers don't work. And yet, sometimes it's all we have really, and therefore we have to settle for it. At 2b, the tone of dissatisfaction I love in this poem. Just the way Emily says, you know, if God could take a nap, I'd try and get away. But I realize it can't happen. At 3a, we mentioned Genesis, and of course, we have to mention Paradise Lost. Milton's Paradise Lost. Guys, I've said a number of times to you that I think so much of what's going on in these poems, Milton is standing behind. Finally, at 3b, what are your views on the idea of a watching God? And to what degree do you place this poem in one of your favorite camps? I hope so. Thank you.